Hi, I'm Rick Anthony, and welcome to the Someone You Should Know podcast, the podcast that focuses on musicians, authors, and interesting people. We like to say we're making a difference one artist at a time. So sit back, have a cold one, and get ready to meet someone you should know. On the podcast this time, a talented blues rock musician from Britain. She had the honor of being asked by Big Brother and the holding company Sam Anders to be the voice of Janis Joplin on his latest tour of the UK. I am a huge blues fan, so I've been really looking forward to sharing her music with you. Will you please welcome my friend Bex Marshall. Bex, welcome aboard.
Well, thank you so much. It's delightful to be here.
I'm so glad we're able to connect on this. This is great. For everybody, I want to know your why you became a musician and that aha moment when you realized, hey, you know something, I might be able to make a career out of this.
Well, you know, I've kind of always had it in my blood to be a performer. I'm Leo, so I was jumping on the table at sort of 8 years old in my grandmother's kitchen and singing for the family. And it was just a natural progression. And I always gravitated towards the sort of performing, anything that I could show off doing. And luckily, my uncle, was an incredible songwriter, singer-songwriter. He was in a band called the Marauders in the 60s. And he had a voice like Roy Orbison, which was a very powerful vibrato. And he bellowed one day in my face while strumming his Gibson Hummingbird. And it was like a Tommy moment where I was like deaf, dumb and blind since then to anything but music.
Wonderful.
And so he actually gave me his Gibson Hummingbird, 1963 Gibson Hummingbird when I was 11.
Wow.
Which I still have. And actually, Vintage Guitar Magazine just did a big feature on that, him as well. So that was nice. But it really affected me, the power of performance. And that was my early sort of moment where I sort of naturally sort of fell in love with that desire to be a performer.
Wonderful.
Desire and the passion to play and the hunger. Which enveloped me when I was, in that age. And I think if you get into it at that age, you're so focused and determined and your brain is so greedy for knowledge anyway, you got a good chance of becoming a professional at it at some point. And so I persevered and all I wanted to do was learn and play. And so I went through about 3 or 4 guitar teachers until I found a wonderful hippie who taught me how to fingerpick.
I love it.
David Prout, and he introduced me to that sort of style, and taught me how to learn taught me how to read tablature, and really that was all I needed to springboard into a whole plethora of the Pandora's box.
There you go. It was open once you got the finger picking in. Being a songwriter, can you describe your songwriting process? Do you have to have certain rituals, a specific environment? And I always like to ask that old chicken and the egg question: which comes first, your music or your lyrics?
You know what? It's a very natural procedure for me, and I never think too much about it. If I get it involved in a little wormhole or rabbit hole that I'm playing with lyrics and words, I may think of a phrase and I'll think, I've got to put that into a song. I think that's a cool little hooky thing. And so I'll write it down. And then I may start, sort of scatting and trying to rhyme that with something. And then I may come up with something, it gravitates towards, and I can encompass it in some sort of subject matter. And so, I'm constantly scribbling notes. Melody wise, it really just depends when I pick up a guitar and I'll have a play, because, when you have such a big repertoire of songs, you have to, if you don't use it, you lose it. And
right, exactly.
I really, really love to play and practice. And even my current set of originals and a few covers that we throw in, I need to practice that, obviously. Like the last 3 or 4 shows in Norway, every night gets better and better and better. And, and then you become really like, your muscle memory is there and you don't even have to think about it. And then you can just clear your mind and perform. And that's the top 5% of performance. Mm-hmm. That's the fairy dust, is when you don't have to think about what you're doing. It's all coming from here. It's all bang on. And you can really ebb and flow with the dynamic of performance. And really that's what I love to do, is to get to that level of rehearsed, performance. And so when I'm writing new material, it's really got to come from something I'm rehearsing or something I'm practicing, and then I may go off on an offshoot and find myself in something new, and then that's when I'll record it. And I think, I can work with that for the next. Yeah. If I've got time, I'll start writing something there and then it ebbs and flows from there.
Very good.
And you got to kind of work on it daily from then.
You just mentioned the fact that you were in Norway. What's the Norwegian blues scene like?
It's actually very good, considering, they love their blues. They love their music over there. Uh-huh. They've got some fantastic festivals, Notre Dame, Hell, and great, it's a really, really healthy blues rock scene, for sure. And it's difficult to get into that market. I've been working with my agent Runa for about 5 or 6 years now, and you've got to build that market. You've got to go and slog it, and hopefully when it's not too cold. But
exactly, Norway has a tendency to be just a little on the chilly side there. Exactly, especially get further and further north above the Arctic Circle.
I know. I mean, it's all good and well if you're up there and you see the aurora borealis, which we actually was there this time we were there, but we sadly couldn't see it because of the cloud cover. Yeah. No, I mean, it's marvelous. There's a great scene. There's great clubs, great theatres, great festivals, and the people love it. Awesome. Norwegians love their blues, so it's definitely a hot market to get into if you're a musician.
Now, Bex, we have a lot of music lovers here. We also have a lot of gearheads that love to tune into the show and find out exactly what the artists are playing. You have been with a lot of great photos that have this gorgeous guitar of yours that looks like it's either turquoise or abalone or something. You got to tell us about this thing. I'm going to include that photo down in the show notes, but it is one of the most gorgeous guitars I have ever seen. I am not a gearhead. I really and truly respect good equipment. I can't play, but I do enjoy seeing such something beautiful. That is just something beautiful. It seems like you don't even have to strum it. It's just one of those songs. It's just one of those things like a Nigel Tufnell guitar. It can't be played. It can't be played. just look at it.
And you know what? It really is. It is a Nigel guitar because it's got a mojo knob.
A mojo knob? Does it go up to 11?
It has. It's a mojo knob. That's it.
A mojo.
It doesn't need to go up to 11.
Can you tell us about this gorgeous guitar? It just blows me away how beautiful it is. And how'd you come to get it?
Well, I'm sponsored by Taya, which is the manufacturer, and the guitars, they have several different types of these guitars. This particular one is called an Apache, but the other ones are, for example, they have a Gypsy, they have a Pirata, which is a pirate. Mm-hmm. They're all kind of based on cultures or characters, and they're all the ornate designs of them are based around those kind of sort of characters, and absolutely stunning inscriptions, and they use all sorts of beautiful sort of semi-precious things on them, like obviously the turquoise on the Apache, but it's really beautiful, very heavy.
Is it really?
It's very heavy. Yeah.
Is it really?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. It is one of the most beautiful guitars I've ever seen. It is just absolutely
beautiful, and it really is. The way they've engineered it is quite something. I call it the Excalibur.
I would call it Excalibur too. It's just one of those things where you just hold that thing up there, and everyone just kind of applauds for the guitar.
Yeah. There's a whole bunch of different. There's 3 pickups on it, and 5 different positions, and of course the Mojo. The Mojo button. So you can. It's basically an organic onboard effect. And you'll strum it, but with, then you'll turn off the Mojo, and it's got like this grit and this little bit of, gain. Awesome. And it really is kind of like a Mojo, sort of like that extra little bit.
Actually, we need to push them over the cliff,
It's very spinal. Yeah.
Very spinal.
And I love it. I mean, I do. I love it. And, I keep thinking, God, I've really got to get a lighter guitar. But I think, no, I really love it. Mm-hmm. And, I'm very lucky to have them sponsor me.
Absolutely. We're going to do is I'm going to find out a little bit more about that company and put it down the show notes. So if someone here in America would like to have a Bex Marshall special, we'll
I have to talk to you about that.
Get a good endorsement. Now, the latest album is called Fortuna. Can you tell us how Fortuna compares to your previous works?
Fortuna, this is kind of where I am right now. It's a little bit sort of more blues rock than the previous records. I would like to think that the songwriting is still, relevant. The most important thing on a record is the songwriting, in my view. So I'm happy, really happy with the reviews and the way it's turned out. I mean, I co-produced it with Nick Hunt, the same sort of way we did House of Mercy here at the House of Mercy and the Snake Pit studio out the back. And so, a very comfortable production time we had here, very loose, and I took my time in the mix. So, I'm really happy with it. It's rolling. And I took the last one for a long walk, and I'm going to take this one for a walk too, but it won't be 12 years until I record the next record. Trust me.
Very good. The first song we're going to feature is from Fortuna. It's called "Preaching to the Choir." What a great song! What's the backstory on "Preaching to the Choir"?
I wrote it in the studio, and it really when I was writing it, I really felt a political undercurrent, and I'm not political because I think they're all a load of
me too.
and as a musician, thing for me to world politics is the movement of freedom, being able to travel the world that I was born on freely, that's really, and to look after the planet, not that I want to sort of I care very much about the planet, but sadly it's very difficult to sort of be behind some of the companies that also say they're behind the because it's all sort of money driven, and you get to a point where you're pulling your hair out with it all. So I just kind of I just try and hope for the best in regards to that, and just fingers crossed to try and travel as much as possible.
The album's called Fortuna. Here's Preaching to the Choir from today's podcast guest, my friend Bex Marshall, right now on the Someone You Should Know podcast.
Telling tales, telling lies. I tell you now, baby.
Great music from today's podcast guest, Bex Marshall. That was called Preaching to the Choir. Great music from Bex and her album Fortuna coming up in a couple minutes. But first, I want to say thanks so much for tuning in to the Someone You Should Know podcast. You can check us out on the web at someoneyoushouldknowpodcast.com. If you happen to visit us there, we have over 220 episodes and a lot more, including recent news. And we invite you to check out the entire catalog of stuff that we've got there. According to Buzzsprout, the service that shares us to all the streaming platforms, so very blessed to reach over 2,500 cities in 99 countries around the world. And some of these are close to Bex's neighborhood. See if these sound familiar, Bex. Barnsley, Bournemouth, Chester, Newton Aycliffe, also Gosport, Hounslow, Kent, and Islington. Any of those sound familiar to you?
Yeah, Islington's around the corner.
Right.
I'll be heading over there later today, actually.
Very good, very good. Someone You Should Know podcast heard wherever quality streaming audio is available. We're speaking with my friend Bex Marshall, very, very talented. And I read that your great-grandmother was a fortune teller. Now, that's quite a fascinating background. Have you incorporated that heritage? Has it influenced your music or your artistry in any way? And what did your great-grandmother say about her talented great-granddaughter?
Well, sadly, I never met her.
Oh,
she died
bummer.
before I was born.
I thought for sure she was going to say this one is going to make it.
Sadly, a lot of my family, it was when you were 50, it was you were near sort of on your way out. Not many actually survived past sort of mid-50s in my family for one reason or another. But she was quite a character and quite celebrated in the West Country of England. And her photograph was in the palmistry shop down on the Barbican in Plymouth, where the Mayflower Steps are actually, literally a stone's throw from there. And that was her. She had her photograph in that shop for many, many, many years, and it was a picture of her in her barrel top caravan. So it was quite an incredible thing, but she was quite renowned for her fortune telling. And I would say the ladies in my family, my mum, my auntie, we all have a very sort of, a witchy sort of side. I would say, very very, in touch with sort of
nature and
the sort of the energy and stuff like that. And I do like a healing thing as well.
Awesome.
Where I sort of send healings around the world. It's quite bizarre, really. But it works, and I love to be able to do it. It's another thing, energy healing is not far from actual music performance, I think.
Awesome. Very good. Now, in the open, I mentioned you were invited to be the voice of Janis Joplin on the tour of Big Brother and the Holding Company. Sam Andrews got in touch with you and wanted you to be a part of this whole thing. That had to be quite an honor. What's your thoughts on that one, Bex?
Actually, I'm seeing the guy tonight who actually made the phone call to me and said,
really?
Sam Andrews would like to ask you if you would be the voice of Janis on their up-and-coming tour of Europe, UK and Europe. So I obviously screamed. And the rest is history. And it was an incredible experience to be, on the tour. And I thought, there's no way I'm going to be able to pull it off, because it was, you just think, how the hell am I going to do that? But it was quite amazing. My voice actually got stronger as the tour went on. And, the sort of last week, I was actually in my element, and I really wanted to perform the songs more like if Janis had been alive, how she would have performed them, rather than copycatting every sort of thing that she did on the records. I wanted to do it as a live performance, so that if you shut your eyes, you would, it could be Janis performing with the ad libs that that she may have done. So that's how I kind of wanted to approach it.
Let's play another track from Fortuna. This one's called 5 a.m. The story behind 5 a.m. Was this written somewhere in the middle of the night or what?
Well, I always live by the philosophy that once you've hit 5 a.m., if you don't go to sleep, the next day is totally wasted. So that's your cut-off point.
Okay. That's a good enough reason here. Here's the song right now, 5 a.m. from Bex Marshall. And it's on her album called Fortuna right now on the Someone You Should Know podcast.
It's 5 a.m. and the dawn is breaking through. My heart is breaking too. I thought I was on the mend, but a nighttime ain't my friend. It's just cruel. The sun hits the curtains, and baby, I'm still hurting. Yeah, I just wanna call you and talk about it all, yeah. Guess that's my downfall. At 5 a.m. It's 5 a.m. and I made it through the night. I don't wanna win this fight, 'cause now I see the light. Smash my glass down, my bottle hits the ground. It's time to lay my body down. At 5 a.m. My bottle hits the ground. It's time to lay my body down. At 5 a.m.
More great music from the album Fortuna. That one's called 5 a.m., and it features today's podcast guest, my friend Bex Marshall. You were currently up for the Blues Blast Best Rock Blues Album for 2024. Being recognized for your craft is one thing. Whether you win or lose, it's just being recognized for your craft. Do you agree, Bex?
Absolutely. A nomination is a winner in my book.
We were talking about this beforehand. Who wound up winning that award, Bex? And this is going to surprise some people that this band is still around. Who was the winner?
It was Canned Heat with their new the new album called Final Vinyl, which I thought was hilarious.
I think it's amazing because I remember them with, I'm on the road again. Or
Absolutely. And you know what? It's exactly how you would want the Final Vinyl. Because they've still incorporated all the magic and all that sort of, unique playing and vibe that they've always had. But it's a killer album with great songs. And it's my favorite record right now. I love it.
Very good, very good. And from one musician to another, that's got to be one of the greatest endorsements there.
It's funny because, again, like I say, I should do more listening. And it's only because I've been on the road a lot lately that I thought, well, you know what, I'm going to download all of those. They were all fantastic, by the way, in that category. And there was no shabby. It was all killers. But that one particularly really sort of, that hit home with me. It was just brilliant.
Very good.
Loved it.
Very good. Now, you're on tour in the United States all through November and December. What can we expect on the tour if we happen to catch one of your dates? And what do you expect for 2025?
Well, I'm bringing a UK band, so that's something. They're all bonkers, and very incredibly talented. The keyboard player's just done a couple of tracks on Eric Clapton's new record that's going to out this week. I know, yeah. He on one of the tracks. So he's really he's buzzing at the moment. Yeah, but it's going to be a fun month.
So for people to keep track of where you're going to be on tour and everything, website and some social links that we should know about, Bex.
Okay, so www.bexmarshall.com is my website. It's got all the touring, the US touring, but it's also this beautiful little place in South Indiana called New Harmony. And it's a week where myself and my band and some other fantastic musicians, Ruth Weiland and what's his name? Carl Dixon, really good, amazing gospel blues singer. Mm-hmm. We're going to be doing this fantastic retreat week with Chef Jonathan. So it's a blues and stews event. So people can come and hang for the whole week. If you want to get away, it's at New Harmony. Blues.org, but that's on my website as well.
I'll include that in the show notes as far as the links and such. What about your socials as far as Facebook, Instagram, any of those?
Yeah, Facebook and Instagram, Bex Marshall Blues. And also with the writing retreat for next June, that's on my bexmarshall.com. So that's under Cyprus Writing Retreat with
awesome.
With the wonderful Greg Douglas, yeah.
Very good. Now, you've been touring for a very, very long time. You've had your share of load-ins and load-outs. And this next feature is called Tales from the Road. This is always one of my favorite parts of the show because we all have those gigs where everything goes letter perfect and you walk off the stage going, yeah. But then again, you have those times where things just didn't go quite as planned. You plug in, your amp blows, or the power in the building blows, or you can't find the venue, or you get to the venue and realize they've got you booked in another venue. Thoughts
all
about that?
Happened to me.
What's your Spinal Tap moment, would you say, Bex?
Well, there's a lot that I could talk about, but I think probably the time when I was a biker and I decided to do my tour on my 900cc motorbike, and I was going to call it the Not So Easy Rider Tour. And I wanted to actually take it to America, and I've probably done that like 10 years ago now, but I don't know about these days. And I remember literally hauling my 900 behind the band bus, for, I don't know, sort of 2,000 miles over dales and mountains and all sorts of things, and then getting to Scotland, doing my radio interviews on the bike and this, that, the other. And I think when it was coming, time to come back, we'd stayed with my uncle in the Yorkshire Dales in an American Indian teepee, and we'd gone over the fields with it, dragging it, and we'd gone back through the beautiful lakes, and every time, we'd look around and there it would be like bouncing up and down the bike. And it was literally as we were coming back down the motorway that we pulled in, filled up for the last run just before we dropped everybody off, and then, pulled away and went down, dropped off the sound engineer, and he literally ran around the bus twice and then started screaming, "It's gone."
No.
It had sheared on our way back. After the most ridiculous trek that we'd had, but it decided to shear, and we all sort of freaked out, thinking that we've killed somebody on the motorway. It's sheared off and it's gone into five people in the car behind us, kind of thing.
No.
And we literally it was like something out of Scooby-Doo. We sort of screeched out of there and got back on the motorway looking for this bike, and basically headed up to where we last stopped, which was the service station in Northampton. And as we pulled up, the traffic was still smooth and we couldn't really believe it. And what had happened was, as we pulled out of the service station, it had sheared as we'd accelerated onto the motorway. And then because it had a little bit of a dodgy tyre, it had rolled into the left-hand side and it was just sat there perfect.
Oh, you're kidding.
So we all sort of jumped out of our skins and screamed.
Oh, my.
And then crashed. And then, obviously, picked it up, threw it back in the car, in the van, sorry, and then I rode it home.
Oh, very good. Very good.
It's one of those moments where I thought, that was so damn close. So it wasn't a stage.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't a stage faux pas, but it was definitely
getting to the gigs
story.
And getting between the gigs. One of my idols that I really and truly love, musical idols, no longer with us, but he was prone to always use his motorbike to get from place to place, even when the band was flying on their private jet, was Neil Peart of Rush. And he loved to go, especially when they were doing world tours, they'd ask the bus driver, let me out 100 miles outside the city and let me ride my motorcycle the rest of the way. So we get a chance to see all the hills and dales of the back roads and such, too. So I totally understand that. The freedom of being on the open road. And
the idea is great, but when you try and, execute that sort of thing here in the UK, it's not a very good idea. Also, when you've got your guitar on your back, it's pushing against the wind, so you end up with like ridiculously sore arms.
Oh, I can understand that. Totally understand that.
Heads up for anybody who's thinking about it.
Very good. Now, Bex, the last song we're going to feature is called Jungle. Can you tell us a little bit about this song?
Well, I think definitely that was inspired by coming out of lockdown, because it really was like a jungle out there. I mean, people's attitudes, you couldn't get too close to anybody in a supermarket. People were really going back to their Neanderthal sort of, instincts. And it was kind of horrible. So it was a bit like a jungle out there. And I think, we are animals. And I think those sort of things put us back into that, fight or flight mode.
Absolutely.
So that's what inspired it for sure. But it's kind of like a kind of humorous, tongue-in-cheek sort of way to look at life and look at the human race,
right,
especially when when you're out in a pub or something. Mm-hmm. And then you look around the bar, there's definitely some animals. Some animals there, yeah.
We've been very lucky to speak with my friend Bex Marshall. Her latest album is called Fortuna. Holidays are fastly approaching. Get yourself a couple hundred copies of that. Give it to all the blues fans on your Christmas list. She's been an absolute delight. Gosh, I enjoyed our time, Bex. Hope you had a fun time, too.
Oh, it's been lovely speaking to you. Yeah, definitely.
It's a jungle out there. Oh, it's a jungle. Oh, it's a jungle. Oh, it's a jungle out there. Lovebirds are dating. Start a crawl Oh, it's a jungle out there. Lord, it's a jungle. Lord, it's a jungle. Lord, it's a jungle out there. It's a jungle out there. Oh, it's a jungle. Lord, it's a jungle. Oh, it's a jungle out there. Yeah.
Hi, this is Rick Anthony, thanking you again for listening to this episode of Someone You Should Know. Now, if you're an aspiring musician or an established musician that's looking for a little exposure, I invite you to drop us a line at Someoneyoushouldknowpodcast@gmail.com. That's Someoneyoushouldknowpodcast@gmail.com. Also, I invite you to tell a friend about the Someone You Should Know podcast. I thank you for tuning in this time, and I invite you to check us out next time on the Someone You Should Know podcast, because you never know who's going to show up. Until next time, remember, God loves you, and so do I.